Hi, everyone. Nadim, I think music is more beautiful than the internet. But I'm here to talk to you about how music and the internet can marry and have beautiful babies. And so I guess you won't be that offended. So I'm going to be talking about community recovery from conflict and disaster, and how we can use music as a tool to do that, as a different tool from the way people have usually approached recovery. But before I talk about the idea, about what I'm here to talk about, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Sri Lankan, and my family lived in Colombo for many years. But in 1983, which is exactly 30 years ago, my country descended into a civil conflict that lasted 27 years. And it was a conflict between a Tamil minority, and I'm Tamil, and the Sinhalese majority government. And this conflict started because the Tamil Tigers, a separatist group fighting for more rights for the Tamils, had assassinated some soldiers of the Sri Lankan government in July of 1983. In response to that, angry mobs of Sinhalese people started marching the cities of the streets of Colombo, burning houses, dragging people out of their homes and killing them. And my parents lived there at the time. My parents lived with their parents in the same house and their dog, Lindy, and I was in my mom's belly. She was 8 months pregnant with me. And they had to escape. They had to first escape by jumping from their balcony into the balcony of the neighbor's house. And the neighbors happened to be German Jehovah's Witnesses, so they protected my family for a few days, and then they escaped to India. But many families did not have that luxury of escape. And many families around the world going through disaster and through conflict don't have the luxury of escaping. My family did. We lived in India for 7 years, and ever since then, we've been a nomadic family. We're scattered all over the world. My father and mother live in Singapore. My brother, who's the little one in that picture, lives in London, and I live in San Francisco now. And something that's really struck me my whole life is that our sense of community and our sense of belonging is tied mostly just to each other, because we don't have roots in our country anymore. We don't have a place to say we belong. And the way we try and maintain that link with each other and with our country is through culture. And when I talk about culture, I'm talking about cultural artifacts that engage your senses and your emotions and your intellect at the same time. Things like music and visual art and dance. Things that emerge from societies, from generations and centuries of building upon creativity upon creativity, that make people feel connected to one another because they've created this cultural artifact together. And I've worked in international development for about 4 years now. And one thing I've seen as a commonality between both post-conflict and post-disaster communities is that there are two kinds of breakdown that happen when an external force outside of individuals comes in and wipes out society's infrastructures. There's a breakdown in tangible infrastructure like roads and schools and the loss of lives, but there's also an intangible breakdown, a breakdown of political and economic and social infrastructure. And in the recovery phase, the international community and the government come together and they pour in resources to rebuild communities, and most of those resources are poured into rebuilding tangible infrastructure, like roads and schools. This picture was taken in Haiti in 2010 when I was there working on one of our projects. And Haiti's a really, really good example of what I'm talking about. After the earthquake in the years that followed, $7.5 billion were poured into post-earthquake recovery. Half of that money went to immediate relief aid. So food and water, which you see here, girls collecting water at a tent camp in Tabar, right outside of Port-au-Prince, food and water in tents. And then the other half went to longer-term reconstruction, so schools, roads, hospitals. And all of this stuff is so essential. I'm not saying any of it is inessential. In fact, it's crucial. But something that is forgotten is a rebuilding of social infrastructure. So how much of those $7.5 billion went to cultural rebuilding, having communities be able to have a space to reconnect with each other and to create culture? $0 were budgeted for that. And I think part of the problem is that people think that culture will create itself for free, that artists will create art for free because they have to, because they're compelled to make art. And that's true, but it shouldn't be true. And I do think that art suffers when it isn't given the resources to thrive. The quality of art suffers. If a musician doesn't have a recording studio, yes, they can now record an entire album at home using GarageBand, but is it going to be as high quality as if they had a studio to access? Probably not. Or if they had real musicians to play with them? Probably not. If someone's painting, the higher the quality of the paint and the canvas, the more they're able to express what they want to get from their minds out into the world. And so these things take resources and they do take money, and it's important to acknowledge that. So what I work with is an initiative called PeaceTones. And our agenda or our mission is to work with musicians in developing countries who have a positive message to their music and to give them these resources so that they can get their music out there, not only to their own communities, because there's value in sharing their music with their communities, but also to the world at large, so that the international community gets a more nuanced understanding and has a more nuanced dialogue about these communities that are living in poverty, that have emerged from war, that have emerged from disaster. Because often the conversation between the global south and the global north via the internet or via cultural exchange is a one-way conversation. So it's a monologue from the west to the east or from the north to the south. And a lot of the artists we work with have absorbed so much from the west, but have so much to give that isn't getting out there. So PeaceTones works in post-conflict and post-disaster communities. We identify musicians with a good message to their music, and we run workshops with them. We teach them about their legal rights, because the musicians we work with are just starting out in their careers, and this is the point at which often musicians, not only where we work, but musicians and artists around the world, this is the point at which they get abused. When they don't know their rights, they're just starting out their careers, they work collaboratively and creatively, and they work with business people who want to help them get their art out there, and business people think like business people, creative people think like creative people, and often there's a tension there, and abuse happens because creative people don't read contracts. They assume that rights will be shared and income will be shared and everything will be fine, and it's not fine. Especially if they get famous and they make money, it's not fine. So these are the things that we teach in our workshops, and we also teach artists how to use social media to get their music out to a broader audience. A lot of the artists we work with are urban youth. They are on the internet, they go to cyber cafes, they're on Facebook and YouTube, but they're consuming culture through those platforms, and they don't yet know how to emit culture through them and how to send culture back to the world. So this is something that we teach them. We also teach them how to tell their personal narratives, and this is part of our model. We record biography videos with all the artists that we work with, and we post them on Facebook so that the PeaceTones audience and a global audience get to not only listen to the songs of these artists, but also hear a little bit about where they're coming from and why they're singing what they're singing. What PeaceTones also does is run a contest on Facebook. So we record music videos with all the artists that we're working with. We put them up online. We create Facebook pages for each of the artists we're working with, and we have them co-manage these presences online with us. And we have them try and get people to come to their page or come to their YouTube video and listen and vote for them. And it's a way for them to put into practice what we've taught them in the workshops. The winner of the contest gets to record an album with PeaceTones, and we distribute that album digitally and also physically, both in the States and in the home country of the artist. And we send back 90% of the profits to the artists. Our only requirement of them is that they choose a community development project in their community to contribute part of their album income to. And in that, the reason for that is to help them maintain a financial connection to the community that inspired their music in the first place. And I guess requirement is a wrong word to use, because we ask them to do this, and most of the time, all of the time, the artists are thrilled to have income they otherwise would not have had, and to be able to finally give back to the community that has supported them all this time. So this is the full cycle of what we do through PeaceTones. We're basically trying to breed social entrepreneurs in artists and teach creative people that you can be a creative person, but it doesn't mean that you don't need to have a little bit of business savvy and a little bit of understanding of how to gain exposure, because a lot of it is magic and a lot of it is luck, but a lot of it is not. And what isn't luck, we try to teach these artists so that they can go out and get exposure. We've worked in a bunch of different countries. We've worked in Sierra Leone and Brazil, and we've been to Haiti twice now. And the artists have chosen community development projects to support that span from a recording studio in their favela. For example, the artists we work with in Recife in Brazil chose to build a recording studio in their own community that they could use anytime they wanted, but also that anyone else in the community could use. The artists in Sierra Leone chose to fund a computer literacy program for children in Freetown. The artists in Haiti chose to build a maternity clinic with the income from their album, and also to support literacy programs, because the artist that chose literacy programs said, if I weren't able to get educated to the point where I could articulate my emotions, I wouldn't be here today, and you wouldn't be listening to me today. So I think that's important for other children to be able to do. So all of this is kind of abstract, and I think what would be good is to tell you the story of one of our artists so you can get an idea of the impact of this work. Juanito is an artist that came to us in 2010 when we were running our Haiti project, and he auditioned. We put his video up with the other videos and ran this online contest, and he won the contest by thousands of votes. He then came and recorded an album with us, and we distributed it both in the US and in Haiti. We released it December 1st of 2011. And right after the release of the album, Juanito just exploded in Haiti. He's now one of the top artists in Haiti. He was named the voice of Haiti by the Haitian media. He was asked by the Haitian parliament in early 2012 to be youth ambassador and to travel around to schools all over the country and sing to kids, as you see in this photo here. And the reason he's had such impact is not because PeaceTones came in and helped him out. He always had this message. The reason is that we just helped him gain the exposure and break down some of those barriers that exist in these societies. And the way we were able to do that is to use technology, to use Facebook and YouTube, so that you don't, if you're an artist from Jérémie in Haiti and you're in Port-au-Prince and you're trying to get a producer to listen to you, they're not going to, because society is so hierarchical and classist in this particular country. And this is what Juanito told us. He said, I've tried to knock down the doors of managers and producers and radio stations, and no one will listen to me because I don't look like what they want an artist to be. So we put him up on YouTube, and we helped him release his own album without a producer. And now these producers are clamoring to get his next album out. And Juanito is someone who, when he lost his girlfriend in the earthquake in 2010, he wrote about it in a song called Disparition. And when he felt grief and anger at the way people perceive Haiti as a victim, like a mule, a tired mule under the yoke of its work, he wrote about it in a song called Un jour la jour, One Day Will Be Our Day, and he sang about it. And when he had a nightmare that he got his girlfriend pregnant and woke up and felt such relief because it wasn't time yet to have a baby, he wrote and sang about it in a song called Garde un rêve, Keep It in Your Dreams. And the whole of Haiti sang along with him. Children all over the streets of Port-au-Prince were singing his song, and I actually have a little clip of that to show you now that we just happened upon on the internet. We did not record this clip. Juanito didn't record it. Some random person found some random kids.
No, yeah. No.
So, and you can find this album on our website, and we have all the lyrics listed. And because this is Montreal, you can probably understand, too. But we have the lyrics listed in English as well. But this is the kind of impact we're seeking to have, not only in Haiti, but with artists all around the world, especially in countries and in communities that are emerging from something that's torn down their society. And we're trying to help these artists rebuild it from within and make an income doing it, because maybe their community can't afford to pay them for performing in their community or for an album that they release there. But a global audience can. A $10 album here in Canada or in the US or in France doesn't cost us a lot. But that $10 income is a huge amount of income for these artists living in Port-au-Prince or Freetown or Recife. And that's the basic idea behind PeaceTones. The next project we're going to do is in Nairobi, Kenya. We're going to work in 3 shanty towns of Kibera, Mathare, and Babandogo. And we're working with artists who are singing about tribal conflict and tribal tension. This is something that's been an issue in Kenya for a long time, ever since decolonization. And tribal affiliation is the way in which these massive slums in Nairobi are laid out. People live in sections of the slums according to their tribal affiliation. And when political tension comes up, when politicians run campaigns on the basis of ethnicity and lose campaigns on the basis of ethnicity, they send out a rallying cry to the urban youth, the urban poor youth, and say, aren't you outraged that our tribe lost this election? Come out and show your support. And what ends up happening is that the youth of these communities go out and they express their anger through violence. And so what we would like to do is work with musicians who already exist in these communities, who are already singing really powerful songs and really powerful messages about community unity, about coming together around commonalities like a lack of water and electricity and shelter from the government, and trying to hold their government responsible for those things, instead of tribal affiliation, which really is just being used as a tool by politicians to evoke emotional reactions and not have people think about their actual rights. So I encourage all of you to join us on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. We use all the same platforms that our musicians use to bring people to PeaceTones so that they can watch the next project as it unfolds. I'll be going in November. I'll be working with hopefully 450 artists in these different communities, running workshops with them, recording contest videos, and those will go up on the internet probably end of December. And I encourage all of you to come and watch and vote and pick the next PeaceTones artist. Thank you.